Statement of Alice Price regarding recovered tapes of her recently deceased father. Recording of statement is placed on May 8th, 2012. Recording begins. My dad was never a particularly good man. I knew he had committed some crimes and done some very awful things. But he was still my dad, you know? I guess I had never really wanted to believe how awful he could truly be. But after that night, there was no way I could deny it. He died not that long ago. It was a lot to process, but I wouldn't exactly say I mourned him. His death was just taken as a fact. There were no tears shed and no sleep lost over it. I just took it at face value and continued on. I lived with my mother, Mary Price, and my 5 siblings. My house was always quite cramped, and at one point I asked to move into the attic. My father quickly shut down this idea. I never noticed that I'd never been inside the attic until there was no large Russian man with a belt at the ready to stop me from entering. It was just like his death to me. I took it at face value and continued on. Whatever was in the attic was not worth the bruises that would come with any attempt to go in. It still felt wrong somehow, but I entered. I peered around the attic. I'm not sure what I had been expecting, but with my dad's level of secrecy, I had expected more than just dusty, rat-infested hovel. The floor was covered with a thick coat of dust, as if it hadn't been touched by anything in years. The rats scampered along the edges of the room as if they were too afraid to disturb the settled carpet of dust in the center. The support beams were chipped, and it was a miracle that the thing hadn't collapsed in on itself. I waited there with my breath held tightly in my lungs, thinking that any second this house of cards would cave in, but it never did. Against all odds, it held itself together. I nervously put my right foot forward into the attic. The creak of the floorboards resonated throughout the room. The left foot followed suit, and it was met with an equally cacophonous sound. A pile of old brown boxes with caved-in tops caught my eye immediately. The first box contained nothing exciting. It had some old pictures, presumably of my dad when he was young. The second box was just disappointing, with small little keepsakes that I assumed had some sentimental value to him, but were ultimately boring to me. The third box is what intrigued me. In it had a few tapes. Most were labeled with broken English and what seemed like basic home videos. My dad's English had never been too good. Alice Learned How to Walk, and Merry Have Happy Day were some of the titles I read. I dug through the box and I noticed a tape with a name I couldn't decipher. It was something in Russian. I was never good at reading or speaking Russian, and I'd only taught some basic conversation words. The name of it was something like Nikovo ne esta lostoka shelovek sem smeerte. I never spoke much Russian, so I couldn't tell you for the life of me what it meant. But that's how it was spelled. I took the tape out of the box. I knew the ancient TV downstairs was equipped with a VCR. I wasn't sure what else I could watch these on, so I booted it up. I scanned the room, and I hoped that I would have enough time to sift through these before my mother returned home. Otherwise, she'd probably scold me for snooping, or worse. I inserted the tape, and the screen shakily sprang to life. I stared at the screen intently. The quality was beyond awful, and it was hard to make out much, but I could see that one thing was clear as day. I recognized the enthusiastic young man on my screen from the pictures I had seen moments before. It was my dad, and he was in a dark, secluded forest. The tape showed him loudly arguing with a woman, but I couldn't make out what they were saying through the distorted audio. But I could tell it was far from happy. The woman's eyes poured with endless tears as my dad continued to mouth angry words and fling his arms around in exasperation. He grabbed her face tightly, not in a passionate way like I had seen him do with my mother. This was something far different. His grip was so tight it looked like he wanted to squeeze the juice right out of her head like a lemon. The person behind the camera edged closer and was met with a swift strike from my father's hands. Now, I only noticed this once he had attacked this person, but I'm not sure how it took me so long. My dad's hands were covered in a coat of blood thicker than the dust I had seen in the attic. My eyes scanned the rest of his body and found his sleeves and pants were also tainted with the crimson innards. The camera caught a glimpse of the disfigured face of the man who held the camera. His face was battered and bruised, and I guessed the pain inflicted onto him by my father's rock-hard knuckles were more common than I thought to believe. The cameraman picked up the video camera and pointed it at the right of my dad. Just past my father's shoulder, and through the thicket, I could make out a makeshift stone table. It was constructed from boulders and stones to form some vaguely rectangular shape. Atop the table was a sight I knew I'd never forget. It had been etched in my retinas for all time. Even as I sit here writing this, I struggle to see the pen ink and the paper past the image. It was a pile of carcasses, an ungodly amount of them. Any and all animals you could think of. Deers, rabbits, raccoons, you name it. It was there. Any animal that belonged in the forest had been rounded up and brought to the slaughter. It was like some hellish version of Noah's Ark. The bodies had been piled high, each body had sliced in several places, and gutted. The insides were nowhere to be found. All around the edges of the clearing, where the pile lay motionless, I could just make out the outlines of large men in black robes. That's when I began to hear it. It really took me by surprise. It was not crisp and distorted like the rest of the audio from the video. It was clear as day. A loud hum swallowed the room and was backed up with a quiet chanting of words I did not understand. My eyes began to water from it all. My arms wrapped around my head as I tried to make it stop. My face fell between my legs as the tears came falling down. No matter how hard I covered my ears, the volume of that sound did not change. When I screamed into the nothingness, it did not falter. Then suddenly, the sound stopped. I looked up to see my mother. She was standing above me with a horrified look, tape in hand. Before I could say a word, she walked out into our backyard. A fire was still burning from an earlier campfire. She cast the tape into the open flame and watched with sickening glee as it twisted and contorted until it was nothing but ash. Never go looking into your father's belongings again. She told me this sternly. This was the authority in her voice I had never heard from her. When a tone so contradictory to what you've come to expect escapes a person's mouth, no matter what is they say, you listen. I went to bed, and that night, and every night since then, I could hear a faint hum in the back of my mind. Statement ends.